Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company. Use promo code BeefSquatch to get some money off your order. And check out our other sponsors, Tape Armor, as well as Rolls Gear, and find all of our old episodes on bjjshow.com. I'm Rob, and Randy and I kind of talked a little bit about Veterans Day, since Randy's an Air Force veteran, I'm an Army vet, and we kind of just want to, I guess, talk about how BJJ and the military are similar and different, as well as answering a question from one of our fans and friends. And I appreciate Dan Silvert for shooting out that question to us, as well as that really awesome message he sent us. So we hope you guys enjoy this episode, and don't forget to buy a patch, buy a shirt, support us in whatever way you can. And I tell you what, get on the Facebook group page. Post, introduce yourself. It's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show group, and let us know what you think of the show. And we will try to keep giving you guys entertainment, and we really hope you guys like this episode. Why is bread milk the essentials for a fucking apocalypse?
Yeah, I'm not sure, and we're approaching that season for sure, and I don't understand why people freak out and their first thought is let's just buy a bunch of bread milk.
The two most perishable items you can get, and can you get dehydrated if you drink only milk? Is that possible?
I'm curious because I don't drink a lot of water, but I do drink a lot of other shit. So
like what? Like beer? I think beer will help, but not.
Beer, coffee. I've been digging those Bang drinks lately.
Oh yeah, those are a little popular at work where I'm at as well, because they're just it's energy drinks, but it's kind of I don't know if it's actually healthy or not. I actually feel like it's still pretty terrible for you, but it's new.
I kind of hide behind the healthy tag, but I think it's healthier than some of the other options like Monster and stuff like that. But it's probably still not the best thing for you.
Yeah, I've actually been sticking to black coffee as much as I can as opposed to drinking energy drinks. Just because I feel like it makes me not feel like I'm going to have a coronary in the middle of work.
Well, I'll tell you this, though. It's one of the things I do like about Bang, or the one that's similar to it called Rain, which I think is actually maybe the same company as Monster. But what I do like about those is that they don't make you bounce off the walls, and there's not this ridiculous crash after.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. Do not drink one of those and then immediately after have a cup of coffee.
Oof. It just sounds like a bad idea.
You feel like you're having an anxiety attack. It's not good.
Terrible, terrible, terrible shit I don't want anything to do with. And speaking of which, things I do want to be a part of. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. I'm Rob.
I'm Randy.
And happy Veterans Day, man.
Ah, you too, bud.
How's did you get to go to Applebee's and get your free meal?
I did not. I might be making an appearance at Bass Lake Draft House tonight, very briefly.
Yeah.
Just because they're doing the same thing.
Oh, that is good, man. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to. I was working all day, so 12-hour shift. No thanks.
Same here, buddy. Same here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a beer. Oh shit! I just dropped my beer coaster. Have that instead. But yeah, so far so good. I was thinking about it earlier when I posted something up on the Instagram. Jesus, man, I did that again. Like I said, the Instagram. Grief. Posted up on our Instagram account, and there was actually a really large amount of crossover between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and current or prior military members.
I would agree with that.
Yep. In fact, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
I was just going to say there's a ton of veterans, especially in this area, and I think some of it around here is because of the connection between old school Team Rock and the military out there at Fort Bragg.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was actually something that was brought up at work today because somebody was talking about Team Rock Fayetteville, and they're like, they're talking about how like, oh yeah, some of the guys I know that I do free fall with actually train out at Team Rock. Have you heard of them? I was like, yeah, a little bit. Don't want to give it all away at work.
Have you heard of this Royce Gracie guy?
Yeah, Royce Garcia. He was very famous for like grappling all these dudes in pajamas. I think he was good at judo. I'm not sure, but he's a UFC champion, that Royce Garcia guy. Nah, but
Royce Garcia.
It's like, okay, yeah. Like, well, I mean, it was kind of just funny to hear, and it's also kind of good to hear that people are still participating in martial arts, whatever your martial art may be. But since this is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA podcast, we are more, prone to be more appreciative of people training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But what I am... So, before we get into, like, more, Veterans Day conversations, we did get a message, and this gentleman's name, and I'm hoping I pronounce it right, Dan Silvert, sent us a message on Instagram, and it was actually a really nice a really nice message he sent us, and it was he talked about how he appreciated our show and stuff like that. But this one question, I swear to God, I really, really kind of regret in a way asking this question on Jiu-Jitsu After Dark and then bringing it up on the podcast, because it kind of, I guess, haunts us now in like a weird way. Like, it's just now we're the podcast known for the would you rather have pubes for teeth or teeth for pubes question. And I don't know if that's a bad thing to be known for, honestly.
I don't know where you came up with it. That's...
So straight up, I will admit, so when Obama did a Ask Me Anything on Reddit, there's a couple questions on there, and one of them was, would you rather have pubes for teeth or teeth for pubes? And I was like, that is actually a really good question.
I really wish he would have answered that.
Unsurprisingly, he didn't answer it. But there was another one that was like, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 100 horse-sized ducks? Or, I'm sorry, let me phrase that. 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck. I mean, that's pretty terrifying in itself.
That's a horrible question. You can't even win with that.
Ducks suck, man. They're mean. But so now Dan, he sent us a question, so I guess we got to answer it. So I'll read it. And he said, please consider all possible ramifications before you answer. It said, would you rather roll with pubes teeth guy or teeth pubes guy?
I like it.
Now it's kind of like coming full circle now that we got to kind of figure out who we want to roll with more.
I would say, do you want me to answer right now, or do you want to?
No, let's answer it right now. Let's get it out of the way.
Okay.
And we'll
all right.
I gotta think about it for a second. All right, we gotta walk we're gonna walk our way into this one. All right. So first off, we know cups are banned in IBJJF and most jiu-jitsu tournaments for a reason, because you can like dig it into somebody's back. You can use it to brace arm bars and stuff. So now instead of a smooth plastic or sometimes steel protector, you have just like what I imagine to be kind of just a block of just pointed teeth facing upward.
Right.
So now whenever somebody takes your back and really digs their pelvis into your lower back or arm bars you now have like teeth pushing into your body, which I already don't like the thought of somebody freaking out in the middle of a jiu-jitsu match and biting me. But now you gotta go. But now also, what happens after every roll? Somebody talks to you and they're out of breath, they're breathing hard, and I feel like they're gonna blow pubes on you when they talk to you if they have pubes for teeth.
Yeah. Well, think about the ramifications if you had teeth for pubes and you're rolling against a guy that has teeth for pubes. Imagine the ramifications of north-south position.
Ooh, that's even worse. Oh, dude, how about this? We all kind of lie to ourselves when we do jiu-jitsu when you're like, oh, there's a hair in my mouth. Oh, it has to be a leg hair.
Has to be.
Now, I'm gonna speak about. I'm gonna be truthful. It's probably not always a leg hair. So now imagine rolling and you're pulling somebody else's tooth out of your mouth.
Oh, so great. And you know where it came from because
it's one guy.
It's teeth for pubes, guys. So you know where it came from.
And he's embarrassed, the poor, unless he does something like wear cinched up underwear, kind of like how some of the old school rash guards have the tie off rope at the bottom of the shirt part of the rash guard. So now he has to wear that all over his underwear so he doesn't just drop random teeth in the middle of the mat. And that shit would hurt too if you're rolling. Like now you're not rolling on hair, you're rolling on teeth.
Well, and the part that a lot of people miss out on in jiu-jitsu is the cleanup after that the coach does in the gym. So imagine you as the coach sweeping and then mopping the mats, and there's just all these teeth.
Yeah.
And you know where they came from again. It's
because there's only one guy. There's only one guy.
He would have to wear, like, a mouthpiece on his junk. Or he'd have to wear like one of those nets that the cooks wear when they have that nasty beard.
Yeah,
just to keep all his teeth pubes in.
Or does he do like the Hellboy thing and just take like an angle grinder to him just to kind of like shave him down in a sense?
He would have to groom himself. He would have to. Yeah.
You're already fighting an uphill battle. First off, so there is somebody for everybody. We know this. So there's probably somebody out there like, dude, I feel like if I met somebody who had teeth for pubes, it'd be amazing, and I'd really love them.
It would probably, honestly, it would be the probably the pubes for teeth chick.
Jesus Christ! All right,
it would have to be. It would have to be.
It'd have to be. Yeah. They just have to love each other somehow. All right. I'm going to go with pubes. I'd rather roll with pubes for teeth, and here's why. I feel like it would be way more painful to roll with teeth for pubes person because you roll on stray teeth, you pull teeth out of your mouth randomly, and God forbid this person's a higher rank than you and they take your back. You're now getting like, the chewing effect on your lower back. So it's already bad enough I get people who accidentally kneel on my tricep. I can only imagine what happens when about 20 teeth hit me in the lower back. That's my answer.
I would agree with you, but for the sake of really getting into this question, I'm going to play devil's advocate and disagree with you.
All right.
And I'm going to say that I would rather not roll with the pubes for teeth guy. And the reason being is because every day that you come to class, this guy's going to have to talk to you.
Keep forgetting about that part.
Like there's always going to be that interaction, and I just don't want to even imagine that conversation. Just those nasty pubes. Imagine how that looks if you had pubes for teeth. Like that's just gross, man. You don't want to talk to the guy with bad breath at jiu-jitsu, let alone the guy that has pubes for teeth. So I mean, I feel like you could probably make an exception to the no cup rule at the gym and spare yourself some of the agony of this guy biting your ass with his pube teeth or his teeth pubes. I'm gonna go the other way.
That's fair. I think that's a good argument against it. But I'm really just more ashamed of the fact that this is taking up the majority of the podcast so far. Is really, we really ask the hard-hitting questions on this podcast. So
we do. We talked about pizza versus tacos in a death match.
We did. In all fairness, we did do that. So I guess this is fine. But hey Dan, that's the answer. That's what we got. And also, fellow listeners, if you haven't deleted us from your subscriptions yet, feel free just to hit us up and ask us some random questions that you'd like the answer to. And these two highly, I don't know if I can say highly, refined brown belts can give you a good answer on that. We'll answer whatever question. It's fine.
Well, and maybe, just maybe we helped somebody with their teeth for pubes problem.
Honestly, I want to send Dan a sticker now. I feel like if you send us a message and it's something we talk about on the show, and it's not like off the wall, we're going to send you a sticker.
What do you mean if it's not off the wall? We just...
Fuck it. If you send us a message and you enjoy the podcast and you enjoy what we talk about, and you're like, hey, look, if you send me a message that says, hey, you guys fucking suck, I'm not going to send you a sticker. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If you send us a message and it's positive, we're going to fucking send you a sticker. How about that? Is that fair?
I agree with that. Yeah. That's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Perfect. And then we'll talk about it on the show, so then you can be famous to all 5 of our listeners. But, man, so let's get this back to like some real jiu-jitsu talk. We talked a little bit in the beginning about kind of the crossover between Brazilian jiu-jitsu and the military community, especially like around here at Fort Bragg or Fayetteville with Team Rock, and how they kind of integrated themselves into the military training, kind of how also Matt Larson brought Brazilian jiu-jitsu to at least the U.S. Army. So on Veterans Day, I know we kind of are supposed to celebrate veterans, but I kind of want to ask you a question, actually. So being prior military yourself, how do you feel the parallels between Brazilian jiu-jitsu and the military kind of work together? Like, I've got some ideas myself, but I always like to hear an outside perspective as well. Like, what similarities do you see between the two?
I would say the ones that come to mind immediately, there's a couple actually now that I'm thinking about it. It's a good question. There's a lot of depth you could go into with that. So, Number one, the camaraderie aspect, especially if you're in a good unit in the military, right? There's a camaraderie on the mats in a good jiu-jitsu school. You're going to have some of those brotherly and sisterly rivalries on the mats where you kind of love to hate each other, but at the end of the day, I can talk shit to you, you can talk shit to me, but if somebody from the outside talks shit, it's on, right?
Yeah.
So I think some of that carries over. There's also this sense of belonging, a sense of understanding, like kind of a unique understanding that exists in the military world, similar to law enforcement too, where you're only talking about a very small percentage of the population that really understands putting your life on the line, service to something bigger than yourself. And jiu-jitsu kind of has a little bit of that, just because it's a very tough atmosphere in jiu-jitsu, right? Like, I'm not going to say that jiu-jitsu is on the same plane as our veterans, because that's ridiculous. I mean, the veterans are really sacrificing themselves and serving this nation. But what I'm talking about is the sense of belonging to something unique, right? Jiu-jitsu is still relatively unique in the grand scheme of things. More people play football, baseball, soccer, basketball, other things like that. Few understand the dedication it takes to really get somewhere in jiu-jitsu, just like very few people understand the dedication and the discipline and the sacrifice that comes with serving the military. And so I think that is something that could be shared in terms of that sense of belonging, which I think feeds right into that the camaraderie aspect. And the shenanigans too. I mean, people goof around in jiu-jitsu, and people goof around like crazy in the military.
I was going to say, when you said the shenanigans, I kind of didn't think of that when I was kind of thinking about how the two things kind of parallel each other. So first off, I always think about, like, when you suffer together, you kind of bond together. So doing like a 30-minute warm-up where the coach just wants you to suffer and you're just sweating, and for whatever reason you've done 100 bullfighter guard passes for no reason other than the coach tells you to, and you're just, God, I fucking hate jiu-jitsu, like, this sucks, and then your partner say, hey man, you got it, keep going, right?
Right.
I never have thought about the shenanigans, and there is a lot of shenanigans and I mean, like, goofing off, joking, kind of, talking trash to each other in a playful way, going out, doing your own thing, because, like, there's a lot of my friends are jiu-jitsu people, and that kind of replaced my ability to, like, have friends that were military people, because, I moved away. And I always had friends that were jiu-jitsu people that I could hang out with, and after we go and, kick each other's asses for an hour and a half, 2 hours, we can, on the weekend, hang out and have a drink or, have a barbecue or something like that. It's kind of a a really cool way to bond and find your tribe, I guess, for lack of better like explanation, I guess.
I think that's really good. I think that's, yeah, you're spot on with that, because it's funny. There's obviously a lot of correlation too between military and law enforcement, or military and fire, first responders in general. It's just a very similar mentality. And with those walks of life, you see the same thing. And I'm sure you see it now, even post-military and what you're doing. It's hard to find friends outside of that because you're not understood. You're misunderstood. Your eyes are open to a different world. And jiu-jitsu, in terms of martial arts, is very much the same way. And so I would say that my friend zone, not the bad kind, the good kind, is comprised 95 to 97% law enforcement and jiu-jitsu people.
Yeah.
And I think that is a tremendous correlation between the two. You're right.
And there's a lot of crossover. Like I said, a lot of crossover too. There's actually a couple of people I work with that I have trained with, or when I became the wayward house for transitioning soldiers for that little bit, they'd come over and they're like, "Oh yeah, you doing jiu-jitsu?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got mats in the garage." Even they're like, "Oh, can we train?" Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. So they kind of jump back into it as well, and it's kind of it is interesting to see, like, all my friends are either jiu-jitsu or military or prior military. We can go with that,
right?
But they're also.
Well, how about the
go ahead.
How about the aspect of where is it going with this one again? A good correlation between the military and the jiu-jitsu people as well is just kind of that need for, I guess not a similarity, but there's a connection in terms of needing an outlet for some of the stress. And one thing that you find in military a lot, or any type of dangerous job like that, is most type A people need a physical outlet for their emotional stress.
Yes.
And so I think you see a lot of veterans, or prior military, current military that get into this, and it's refreshing, it's healthy for them to have that. So that's a really important one.
It really is, and I do see a lot of people kind of reaching out and helping with that. So, like Brian Crandall with Geese for GIs, or Greg Sinelli, who's a very, very, in my opinion, high-level jiu-jitsu competitor, as well as a retired Navy chief and current firefighter, actually.
Nice.
Kind of promoting the whole jiu-jitsu, helping veterans. We got, I can think, oh geez, man, just about everybody. Mike Bidwell is a former Army guy. Matthew Brown out there in Wilmington, everybody I've kind of talked to in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at least have had their hand in it in some way. And they see the benefit of it. I do laugh a little bit about how I met my battalion commander in Arizona in a role.
Nice.
And he was a brown belt and I was a blue belt at the time, and we chatted and we're rolling. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to teach at the schoolhouse." And he goes, "Oh, so you belong to me. I'm your battalion commander." I was like, "Oh shit." My battalion commander. I was like, "Oh god." So, but no, it actually turned out to be really well. Of course you're polite to him outside of jiu-jitsu because, that's kind of the thing you're supposed to do. And it's, I mean, not that I wouldn't give it to him because he was an outstanding officer to work for. Amazing leader. And Adam Boyd, actually, he's a longtime friend of the show, and he he just kind of really put it in perspective, you can have leaders and you can have jiu-jitsu people, and having that ability to kind of have that crossover as well. Everybody kind of has their hand in it in jiu-jitsu, from what I understand. And
well,
I don't know where I'm going with it, but it's just it's crazy to me that all these people are able to do jiu-jitsu and train and have already given enough to the country. You know what I mean?
I do, and I think it's always intrigued me, and it's almost not even a surprise anymore when you find out that somebody in the military that's high-ranking or successful, or even just in general life, does jiu-jitsu and is an advanced belt. It's almost kind of a given when you get to that level in this game. I think it makes you a better person, honestly. Doing jiu-jitsu to a high level, sticking with it for several years, it makes you. I've never seen anybody that didn't have some type of significant transformation in their life, and it just seems like this art attracts people. Not only makes them better, but attracts people that succeed at a high level.
Yeah.
Across the board in whatever they're in, and it's no wonder that military is a huge part of that. And you can get into the history of Hoist Gracie and how it came about with the military and the connections there, and how it's continued on from there. But at the end of the day, it's because you have like-minded individuals. I know a lot of people on the mats that aren't military that very well could be.
Yeah. No, I agree
because
with that.
they just have that psychology about them. And at the same time, you have the opposite too. You have people that, because the military is a very diverse thing. People don't understand that there are so many different functions in the military other than just being on the front lines in combat. And all the jobs, every mission is important, to keep that wheel turning. And you have, I know a couple people, I'll throw his name out there, is one I was thinking about before I started this ramble, Charles Ferguson, who we refer to them as the Fighting Fergusons. It's an entire family that does jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wow.
They've been doing it for a while. And Ferguson is active military, but like on the nerd side of military. And he'd laugh me saying that because it's true. But he's a badass on the mat, So it's not even about necessarily what your MOS is. It's just the mentality that comes with it. There's so many similarities between the personality traits of somebody dedicated to jiu-jitsu and dedicated to serving this country.
Well, you get both, and like a whole family first off doing jiu-jitsu is kind of crazy to me because I turned out to be the only one in my family of martial artists to kind of stick with Brazilian jiu-jitsu. But I get what you're saying with the mentality of it. There seems to be, there are a lot of people who I feel like, I've even asked, I said, are you military? And they're like, nah, I'm not. I just do jiu-jitsu. And what was it, one of the last times I came through? I think the last time we came through and I did a podcast in person with you, the big dude I rolled with, I actually asked him, like, are you military? He said, no, I'm just a guy who works up. Well, he actually kind of works with them, but he's not military. It's just the way they carry themselves. I feel like the confidence with it as well kind of plays a major factor into that with how they handle themselves. And,
I agree.
And I see, like, in the military as well, like, it's kind of the same thing. A lot of stressful situations do arise, and being comfortable with being uncomfortable kind of comes into play in both sides of the house. So being, like, in Neon Belly for 5 minutes straight from a high rank and then being stuck in just, like, this terrible situation, you get used to it on each end, and everything else that kind of happens to you in life, you're just kind of like, yeah, it's no big deal. I'll take it the way it comes. Kind of easy going about it.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. Oh, God, man, I hate that phrase. But it's true. It's true. Embrace the suck and kind of go with what you got, and you'll succeed, and you'll make it through. And it's just, that is kind of also the whole, if everybody embraces the suck, then everybody kind of bonds together through it.
I agree. And then you've got the smaller connections that are less meaningful and less poetic than what we've discussed because it is Veterans Day. But you have the other ones too. So, short haircuts. Because let's face it, if you're a guy and you're in this sport for very long or this art for very long, you're probably going to end up having a short haircut.
But something I wish they would adopt from jiu-jitsu is letting them grow beards. Everybody can grow a beard. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I know certain professions you can't have it, but
I mean, and our department is talking about potentially allowing us to do a pilot program to grow one.
Really?
And so I've never been able to do it, man. I went to high school in the military, directly into law enforcement, and both agencies I've worked for did not allow facial hair. So I've been baby-faced my entire life. I want to do it. I want to try it.
Try it out, yeah.
But the other correlation, too, is now some of the materials that they're using for gis. Again, this is far less important than what we've discussed as far as, personality traits, but just looking at the total picture, you're seeing a lot more ripstop, a lot more, almost like a BDU style material in gis and stuff. And I think that's another correlation. There's just so many different things. It's no wonder. And then, of course, you got different personalities within the game higher up, like Tim Kennedy. that are both jiu-jitsu, super high level jiu-jitsu and super high level military. Um, so it's I love it. I love it because you just run into so many like-minded individuals and you just make friends so much easier. Um, so
No, I mean, it is true. You meet a lot of like-minded individuals, and regardless of whatever brought you to where you are, everybody kind of stays for the same goal, and I think that's kind of cool.
me too.
So,
Me too. Absolutely.
so before we finish up this episode, I was kind of thinking about doing this too, and I wanted to see what you thought about it. But we're doing it live, so whatever. Is there anybody, um, in your military career you kind of want to give like a shout out to, since we're kind of doing the Veterans Day thing, about like, anybody who influenced you, anybody who was just like, there to help you kind of get through the suck, things like that?
Well, I mean, my military career wasn't as long as I would have liked it to be, and I didn't get to do a lot of the cool shit that I wanted to do. Something that I'm still very thankful for having the opportunity to do, and I would sign that dotted line again. But I, I would think my entire unit's gone actually. 3rd Aeroport Squadron over there at the former Pope Air Force Base in Fort Bragg is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, every one of them had a significant influence. My roommate, BJ, BJ Jones, is actually the guy that introduced me to the people that got me in with Danville Police Department, where I got my career started before I transferred out to North Carolina. So that was a very integral part of my life. It's huge. So I mean, obviously, I'd want to thank him, but more than that, in terms of people I know directly, my number one veteran that I always think about whenever we talk about military is my cousin, Andy. He's been through several deployments. Some of them are pretty rough. He's been in the military for a long time. He's in the Army. He was 82nd Airborne, and I think he was 1st Infantry as well.
Wow.
And just the epitome of a phenomenal soldier. And I actually look up to him in that respect. So I would say him for sure. He deserves a solid Happy Veterans Day today for the sacrifices he's made for this country. So
nice. I was gonna say, like, I'll do my quick shout out, like, keep it kind of short. So like, I think Chief Duff, Chief Thompson, two of my biggest influences in the military. Like, I really appreciate everything they did. Kind of set me up for telling me you need to be a professional, and that every day that you're in is your job interview, pretty much. So if you act like an asshole, people are going to notice, and then it's going to follow you forever. And then also, want to go with Chief or Sergeant Brown. He actually got me in, and he kind of was like, "Hey man, just remember, you can't bullshit anybody, because they're going to find out." And then all the guys I was in Iraq with, you know who you are if you're listening. And I appreciate everything you did, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of shit. So it was a good time, but that's really all I got right now. And of course, my dad, passed away back in 2015, and that's kind of what I aspired to, or what I aspired to be when I was in the military, was a good leader like my dad. So, I mean, I think it's very fortunate that you and I had a really good group of people that were there to kind of guide us and kind of show us the way in the military.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's people I could just go all day. I've been surrounded by military my whole life. Both my grandparents, my grandfathers were in the military, served in World War II. Even my step grandfather was in the military. My dad was Navy. One of my best friends, Dave Jarvis, is still in the Air Force. It's a lot of people that are very, very important in my life are prior military, and so I'm with you, and I think that's a huge part of what makes me who I am today. And even though, my military service was honorable, and even though it got cut short, that duty and that need to serve still exists, and that's why I'm in law enforcement now. And so, and it's due in part to the people that, like you said, that we came up around and were influenced by, and the military is such a unique breed. Similar to law enforcement, they're not all great, but certainly it's the few, very, very few that are not. Every vet that I've served with has been incredible. And so today definitely, goes out to the vets, us included. Takes a lot to go in there and sign that line and say, hey, I'm willing to die for this country. And there's a lot of people that I think right now there's a lot of people in society that are so ungrateful. Can this nation improve? Absolutely. It always can. It's never going to be perfect because it's created by man, right? But to even be able to voice your opinions on the status of this country and the government means that the military is doing their job. And I mean, it is the greatest country in the world. It is the greatest nation in the world, as far as the ones that exist out there and the freedoms that it affords. And that's only because you got people out there that stand ready to do war on your behalf. So
yeah,
that's all I got.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. We are very fortunate to be where we are, and that we're able to do a podcast. And I appreciate everybody who's been out there and have served before us. And thank you guys, appreciate it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another episode of the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company, Tape Armor, and Rolls Gear. And you can find all of our old episodes at bjjshow.com. I'm Rob.
I'm Randy.
We'll catch you guys next time.